Hello, Peace and Purpose family. It is Ivy Simmons with you all once again. And today I am blessed to have a soul called Joel joining us from Texas. Where are we in Texas, Joel?
I'm in the Dallas area.
Dallas. Very good. Very good. So, yes. So, you are going to talk to us about nature, discovering yourself, creating greater connection with yourself and others through the beautiful expanse, right? The outdoors. Could you tell us just a little bit about yourself? How you have you always been kind of an outdoor person into the nature, or is this a new development and kind of what it means to you and kind of how you got to this work?
Yeah. Well, growing up, I have 7 siblings and we grew up in a pretty small home in Texas. So mom was always like, go outside, go outside. So there's always been, that like kind of, underlying connection to the outdoors. But I think it's been more intense over recent years when, with COVID and everything happening, and recognizing how peaceful I felt and how grounded I felt outside. So I'd go for long hikes, you know, down by the river or anywhere I could. And
Whole song, Down by the River.
down by the river. And, it just kind of happened naturally, like, oh man, I feel really good. I feel amazing. And then I realized I was actually kind of hacking my empathy, as highly sensitive people, we're always absorbing other people's energy. And so why not go outside and absorb the energy of nature, right? The peace and the balance and just the centeredness that is just there in our natural biome.
That's amazing. So, I want you to help the party people because they may not know what a biome is.
Okay. A biome, just, a climate, a natural balance of all of the creatures living together, right? But
Ecosystem.
ecosystem, there we go.
I just want to help everybody. They'll be like, listen, friends, I don't know what they're talking about. I love it. So you started going outside kind of around COVID. And you started recording and talking to the people. What made
Yeah.
you decide to share this experience? Or were you doing it for a while and then something told you, others may enjoy this? I have something that I would like to give folks.
No, it totally happened naturally. I was on social media and I decided I'd get on and kind of create a authentic space for myself where there was no expectation. So I was on TikTok sharing my music and my thoughts and ideas. And then it kind of happened naturally. I was like, oh, I'm out for a walk. I was hiking 5 to 10 miles regularly. And I was like, let me just see what happens. And I went on and started connecting with people. And there, everybody was like, oh, it's so peaceful here. I love connecting to you. Like, what is your take on this and that? And it became like a whole philosophical, spiritual exchange. And it was really beautiful. It just kind of unfolded.
That's beautiful. And how often do you take these hikes? Like, is it day
Almost
or 3
daily.
times a week?
Almost daily, if I can.
5 to 10 miles daily. That's
Yeah.
some good health right there. That's your vitamin D, your oxygen, you reduce your EMFs,
Oh yeah.
grounded. I love it. That is amazing. So what is your work? You mentioned writing music.
Yeah, I'm a songwriter, do a number of things. I write music, I perform, do some video work, editing and recording. I also write poetry, literature, and
You was a Renaissance man. That's what's happening.
yeah, I guess I'm a Renaissance man. We'll go with that. Even some modeling on occasion. So I have my hands in a lot of things.
Okay.
Keeps me entertained.
How do you decide what you'll kind of take on or what speaks to you?
I don't actually. My meditation practice, I think part of the walking and being in nature is it's a meditation for me. Surrendering, recognizing how the mind, body, and spirit are all working together. And for a long time, and maybe in our society, our intellectual mind is kind of at the forefront, taking most of the bandwidth and trying to bring that back into the heart space and into the body. So for a while with walking, the body is where I connect, right? Like recognizing how tension or frustration maybe showing up in my body, like
Oh,
tight,
nice.
tight hips, tight shoulders, right?
Okay.
And so when I surrender and relax, release all that tension, it makes more space for the flow and for divine intuition and inspiration to come. And so that's really kind of what drives me. The walking is more of a surrendering and clearing my palette for the day. And on my walks, I'll get inspiration for a poem or a meditation or a song. So I lean into that connection as my inspiration.
Mm. Nature as a meditation, because we've talked this weekend a lot about meditation. Um, but most people find it like really difficult. Like you said, quieting the mind, being able to be still. Um, and I've done some practice of walking meditation. I feel meditative after I get done walking. If it's not like in the neighborhood, but I go somewhere, right? Because walking down the street with cars is not it. Dodgy, dog mess. It's not the common version. But I think that we don't recognize one, that meditation isn't always sitting still, right? If you're swimming laps, you can totally get into the zone with the breath and the movement of hearing the water, your hand hitting the water, and that's meditative. But we have this idea of meditation is sitting still with your eyes closed,
Right.
maybe a time or two for some waterfalls playing in the background.
Yeah.
How do you help people understand the benefits of being in nature and how it is really restorative? I know you do it in you're talking to people. Sidebar, your voice. You could be a voiceover actor too, because the voice is so calming. You've got this
Oh,
great resonance to your voice.
oh, thank
Um,
you.
yeah. So how do you help people understand the benefits? Like it's healthy, yeah, you get to work out, but like all of your bodies get benefit too.
Hmm. Well, I think, well, I want to back up and go to meditation for a second because that's tied to
Sure.
my answer. For me, I try to demystify meditation, and it's not just, sitting down quietly for hours on end and, trying to quiet your thoughts. I think of it more as just turning your attention towards something. And that particular type of meditation might be, more advanced, but right now I'm doing a Rise Journal Challenge, which is a meditative journaling practice that I've created. And, we'll do 5 minutes in the morning. We did it this morning at sunrise at 7:30. And I'll play guitar for 5 minutes and give people a space to kind of just release and calm and relax and ground. There's birds singing, there's nature, and they're just writing all of their thoughts onto the page. But what they find is when they release anything that's been in their mind, they have space to actually become more aware in their bodies and in their hearts. So when you've created that space and you're actually outdoors in nature, I mean, of course, you know that the sun provides nutrients to our body, but any spa you go to, right, there's always nature sounds.
Mhm.
And we're inside right now because, well, I needed to be because there's some construction going on in the neighborhood. But usually I'm outdoors to stay grounded because in reality, it's our natural habitat, right? And we're so isolated and so, and as Black people, we've been kind of terrorized away from the outdoors, right?
Yeah, that's really a
Slavery
very
and
wonderful way of putting it.
running
Very
and being lynched and hanged, and there's a whole history of
good.
trauma that is somaticized. It's like in our body. It's been in our DNA from hundreds of years now, and so that's part of my mission as well, is kind of embody that freedom that I would like to see in the world for all of our people, especially the Black culture.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but nature provides a lot of healing. I think, we all know that. Just if we can go to the spa and you hear water sounds, oh, you want to go to
Clearly,
bed.
I've got a waterfall that sits up next to my desk. Like, right, I have to have it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Um, I guess the question would be using intention, right, in your meditation.
Mhm.
There's the circle of thought that you try to like not think of anything, but introducing intention, maybe sometimes people suggest before you go into it, if it's to be restorative or to open your mind or what have you. How do you determine what your intention is? Is it purely on flow? Is it, I may be kind of working through something in my brain and I need to like allow that to push forward so I can, okay, I'm intention to like receive some insight. How do you give
Mhm.
yourself permission to decide what intention you're going to go with, and how does that help?
Yeah. So actually, we're talking about intention this morning. It's the RISE is an acronym. It stands for release, clear your mind, inquire, asking heart questions, self-awareness, cultivating greater awareness and coherence between the body, mind, and spirit by listening to your heart. And the E is for empowerment. And that is setting an intention and an affirmation. And I think of an intention as a state of being, a disposition, the energy you show up. So in those lives, my intention is to be a conduit for grounding, healing, and transformation. Like to get over myself, it's not about me, it's about we. And when I listen to my heart and I think about my own personal healing, I'm wearing my Healed People, Heal People shirt.
Oh.
It's all about once I get to a certain state of health, being a support to others as much as I'm able. So that to me is, understood as the intention to be a conduit for grounding, healing, and transformation. And I choose that from a heart space. It's like, well, what's in alignment? One of my favorite meditations is a morning practice that's guided by David G. And he asked the question, who am I? What is my heart longing for? And when you like surrender, all of the other physical things that we try to identify with,
Right.
there's a whole other perspective on who we are that can show up, that provides a great foundation for setting an intention. And also seeing life eyes wide open, right? It's like we like to make plans. We're very goal oriented and they're so action based.
Right.
But it's like, how can you show up with a certain energy? Can you choose to show up with a certain energy and a certain state of being and surrender the rest to life, right? Like really surrender it. And that's what intention is about for me.
And I think a lot of that action orientation is focused on having to feel productive, to feel worthy, or to feel like you'll be accepted or seen and honored. Because without that productivity, well, why would you value my opinion? Because I haven't got that degree and I haven't worked that job to be able to tell you this is what my thought is. So you're right, allowing yourself to find a space to be versus always on that wheel trying to do something. Surrender is really interesting because I don't know if we have learned how to do it in a way where we don't feel like we're doing nothing, right? There is something being done and then you feel lazy. I did nothing. Did you rest? Did your mind relax a little bit? Did your heart not beat so quickly and your pressure come down? That's a lot of work. Just to be a human is a lot of work. So if we give some insight for surrendering in a way that gives ourselves some grace and understands as a process to learning how to be at ease with just being, how would you suggest folks get into that?
Yeah, surrender to me is about trusting. Trusting, right? And I think it starts with trusting your own self, your divine inner knowing, and trusting God or whatever your higher power is, whatever name you give that, enough to know, everything in life is already working well, and my belief is, the same unfolding of life that you see in everything else, right? There's a seed, a fertilized seed, and the tree has everything it needs to become a full-fledged tree in that seed, all the information it needs. And we also have all the information we need already implanted inside of us, right? You can see, I was hanging out with my nieces yesterday. One's like 10 months old, the other's 2 years old. And they have very different personalities. And all of that's already there within them, right? But then you kind of observe how all these things are shifting and their responses to being told no in certain ways or being trained or broken or nurtured, right? Like those are 3 different things. And I think as adults, you reflect back and you go, oh, I need to unlearn a few things. I need to surrender these things, right? Surrender these ideas about myself, surrender these conscious and unconscious beliefs so that I can see that the life force that is within me is greater than all of that.
That's amazing. Yeah, trained, broken, or nurtured. I love that. Because a lot of us have been trained and broken a lot, but the nurturing is sorely lacking for so many people. It doesn't matter ethnicity, gender. It gets more intense when you push on ethnicity and gender. But regardless, the human experience is not one broadly of nurturing and allowing people to explore and learn self-questioning techniques to then, pour it into life and everything else, right?
Mhm.
Um, when we talk about nurturing oneself, what are some key things that you've done to help nurture, to break your training and the brokenness that you've experienced growing up? I'm not saying your life was horrible, right? But knowing you went to school, somebody said something crazy to you, teacher
Of
or student,
course.
right? Girlfriend
Mhm.
or boyfriend or whatever, it's happened, right? The brokenness takes place. But what have you done to remove some of that scar tissue from
Mm.
the training and the brokenness to
Yeah.
allow for nurturing?
I think the biggest thing is learning how to hold space for myself. And that shows up in many different ways. But I think one of the first ways was actually through journaling.
Okay.
I was going through a real rough time. I couldn't sleep well. And I was probably in my early 20s. And I woke up in the middle of the night and just pulled out one of my college notepads and started writing.
Mm.
Wrote, I don't know, 20 pages. And then
Wow.
finally I slept like peacefully. And I woke up the next day and kind of like reviewed what I had written. And it was every thought that was in my mind that I was trying to put into, some kind of puzzle and try to create a picture, as opposed to just creating a space for it to exist and be okay
Ah,
without needing to fix it, right? Holding space, just being okay with it not being okay. And for me, that was the release part of like my journaling, the Rise journal that like I've been developing. And it's all about like, how can I create a space to witness myself? One of the intentions that we've been using in the journal practice is, may I be available to witness what I've never witnessed before about myself so that I may heal and grow. And like just setting that as an intention, right? Holding space for yourself, right? We've all got our blind spots, and that's why we're self-sabotaging. We can't see it.
right.
So just setting that intention like creates the space for you to witness yourself, whether sometimes it's through the journaling and stream of consciousness writing or on a trail. Even if I just start to think about, well, why am I sore right here? Why was I holding all the tension of my day in my right leg and not my left? Right. And it was like, oh, does that have something to do with the argument I had with this person or this situation at work or, whatever childhood trauma just that this kind of popping up in my dreams that I need to kind of pay attention to and hopefully move through? Like, what is that about? Right. All these things are related. And I think the more we make space for that becomes a greater sense of self-awareness and self-nurturing.
I love that. Okay, we're gonna pause 1 second because I got water down the wrong throat and I was like, I don't hold it together. My eyes were, I was like, oh Lord. Like, oh, you can mute yourself. Just mute yourself, lady. Just mute yourself. Brittany must have stepped away because she hasn't gotten on to say, we're gonna stop and restart. She'll do it at some point. Oh my God. If you'll catch it, just let her know. It says 11:56. I'll let her know at that point. And you do a little edit there. When you try to sip some water and it takes you out. Okay. It was like you weren't supposed to drink water right now, friend. Okay. All right. We can restart. Note the 11:56. Ooh, yes, indeed.
Oh, I see her. She says she was on a call. She's typing.
Okay. No worries. Thanks, Brett. Let's just note 11:56 to put a little edit there. So I need to get it together. Lord is taking this moment. I think because I tried to repress it, it's like we're gonna sit, my friend. We're gonna sit. I'm gonna try coconut water this time.
There you go.
I was like, we don't want that. Okay. Thanks, sugar. Oh, I love it. I lost my whole train of thought. I had
Oh,
good questions. That's all right.
it's all good. They'll come back.
All right. Okay, we ready to rock? My little old eye cry.
Let it out.
I love it. So, no, before we start, okay, make it even 11:59. Do you want to be called referred a soul called Joel or just Joel?
Joel's fine.
Okay, good stuff. All righty, all righty. We now starting, Britt. So, Joel, when we talk about holding space for ourselves, and we've got all of these thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, what you're saying, I just want to make sure I understand, is that folks, as opposed to trying to figure out whatever it is they're working through, and
Mhm.
parsing out how they need to address it, just allow it to be and flow through their body as opposed to getting stressed by, I have to figure out who's picking up the kids today and how I'm gonna make this bill and how I'm gonna get to work tomorrow because I gotta go do something to help my mama. Like, give yourself some time to just, and then things will come up to help support you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, well, I mean, some of those things are right, like practical things, right? You have to have a schedule and some sense of, timing when those things will happen. But as far as like some of the other things, like some of the deep hurt and if you witness defensiveness coming up in your, life with something, recognizing when you're showing up as a victim, right?
Mm,
And I think there's a difference between actually being victimized, right? People will do things and be acting out and it'll be harmful. But when am I showing up as a victim and why am I choosing that? And where is that hurt? Where was that hurt initiated in my life, in my childhood? Is it something from, an experience as a young kid and creating that space? So with those types of things, what I mean to say is instead of always trying to fix and judging them and being so hard on ourselves,
mm,
create a little space and get curious about it and just witness it, you
okay.
know, and step out of duality.
Mhm. Right. And we get so locked in, it's either this or it's that, versus we're all the things. Varying degrees at different times, but we're all the things. So when you say being a victim, step out of being a victim, sometimes
Mhm.
people are like, but they really did harm me, right? But
Yeah.
how was it? How do you shift that from there was harm that happened? I'm no longer currently being harmed, and I still have feelings about it, and I need to process those feelings so I can release them. So it's not so triggering. Is that what you mean when you say come out of being a victim? Or is it how you're receiving information from someone and you kind of switch to victim?
Mm. Well, both, right? And I'll say like the first one, right? Like I've been showing up as a victim. I'm no longer being harmed, and that's more of a self-love thing, right? Like I love myself enough to choose peace. I love myself enough to choose self-worth, acceptance, and acknowledging that whatever that person decided to do or how they decided to show up is probably a bit of their own trauma that they're trying to work out. And I want to have some compassion because at the end of the day, if I don't learn how to step out of showing up as a victim and showing up as an empowered um, person with self-love and self-worth, then my own life is going to suffer. And I don't want that. I want to create a life. Now, the other thing is about being triggered, right? And that's tricky because, that's a sore spot that's being touched. And it's like, oh, they did something. And it's like, oh, okay, well, recognizing like, okay, well, what in me is being triggered right now, right?
Why?
um, which that might be the beginning of going and down a rabbit hole and learning some things about yourself, but
Mhm.
also really like acknowledging people are showing up. The energy they hold is the energy that's unfolding. It has nothing to do with me. They're
That
projecting who I am, from whatever experience they have, but they don't know me. This is our first time, or we're still getting to know each other.
it could be your mama. They're still showing up, based upon their experience.
Exactly.
So yeah,
That's it.
I understand. I think that the when people are saying, "Oh, stop being a victim," it it can be triggering people. They're like, "But I was
Mhm.
victimized." Like you're invalidating what took place. But I think it's more around your expectation of how you'll be treated,
Right.
right? If you
Right.
expect to be treated badly because this happened, or don't work through the trigger so that you're not always immediately like taken off your balance,
Hmm.
then yes, you're showing up as a victim because you're not healing your past those moments and allowing
Right.
for experiences to happen and evolve in your life. So yeah, I agree. I agree very much so. Thank you for that. Because I think a lot of times we talk about victimization and victimhood and all this stuff. People don't understand how to honor the fact that something happened, but move past it in a way that supports new experiences.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Do-
I mean, things will happen. Oh, I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead. What happened?
Things will happen, right? And you will definitely be a victim, right? And I mean, we're Black people in America. We've experienced that. But claiming victimhood as an identity,
Mhm.
right? That's a completely other thing.
Yeah.
And that's something I don't want, right? And it's easy to fall into. So like choosing this, learning how to see it and not become it, and become aware of it and navigate it from a place of wholeness as
Mm.
a beautiful divine being that you are.
Yeah. So, well, one quick question. Do you know Pierre Benu?
I don't.
He's an artist out of Baltimore. But he leads these, and he actually did a couple sessions for us, but I've known him for years. These sessions, these art kind of classes, they used to do them online. And I would come away from them so relaxed.
Hmm.
And it's just random. He's like, okay, just grab a piece of paper. And you might be like, put dots until I tell you to stop. And then
Wow.
you're like, okay, what do you see? Okay, maybe do a circle or
Wow.
something. And then now make a picture out of it, right? Or you know what I mean? Or he would do his own
Yeah.
and kind of talk him through it, or and it may just be we start with like a word for the day, like I breathed today.
Hmm.
That's your accomplishment.
Yeah.
Epic, you won for the day. Like it was so simple, and it maybe with some crayons or some colors that day or whatever, right? But the process of just moving hand to
Hmm.
paper, it's got great music popping in the back, we're
Hmm.
talking, talking kind of, right? Because we're commenting while he's on Instagram Live, right? But he's responding to it and we're responding to each other. So it's a communal moment of responding to whatever he's saying or what he's drawing or what we're drawing and sharing what's happening on our side. And I think kind of what you're saying with your journal group, creating community around new experiences that kind of reprogram us in a way.
Yeah.
You know, they allow for new experiences, so then we expect different experiences and we have them.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so I think that's really pretty amazing. You just made me think of him just kind of in your expression. And I was like, oh, does he know Pierre? He should know Pierre.
Hmm. Yeah. I want to know him. That sounds amazing.
You know, you're like, so your work, and I don't even know if we want to call it work. I always say work, and it's like it's work. It's what you give. This is what your honorable contribution. Um, you have the journals,
Mhm.
and you take these walks with folks. So I say take these walks with folks because you're bringing us along with you, right? Um, what is it? How do you want it to live and flesh out? You said something about being a musician and a writer and a poet. Um, Are we going to have a class on poetry? Do you see that as part of how you'll continue to share your light and to help inform people on new pathways for themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a lot of projects in the works right now. I'll be starting a podcast at the beginning of the year. That'll
Nice.
be kind of live in nature with that community online. But poetry also will have a place combined with the music and meditation.
Mm.
I'm creating a new modality for guided meditation that's more about painting a space for you to enter into that's holding a frequency for you to connect.
Mm.
So instead of
A whole mouthful. Can you rest for a minute? I just want to give honor to that phrasing about creating a space that holds a different frequency. The family may not be aware. Frequency, energy medicine, everything has a frequency. Doctors literally use frequency and vibration to heal diseases in
Mm,
clinical settings. I mean, regular
mm.
doctors, I don't mean what y'all consider holistic for years. Um, that's amazing. It just sounds yummy. Like, I'm like, I need to be present. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna let you continue now that
Yeah.
I've
Well,
that moment of being excited.
all right. Well, that's kind of, that feeling, right? If there's something expressed in a way that paints an emotion, it's not
Mhm.
just directive, right? Gets you out of being a follower and gets you into a feeling, gets you
Mhm.
into an energetic space, right? I'm not going to tell you to breathe or to relax your body. So the music will hold a frequency combined with the poetry that will paint an image, will paint a space for you to enter into and connect to your own divine inner knowing. And there'll be space for you to breathe within the music, also the grounding sounds of nature. But it's all been recorded live in nature. So I'll take my guitar, my equipment out on the trail and get far enough away until I feel connected. And then that's when I press record.
Mm.
So I'm still in the prototyping phase of this. I've got a few that I've been working on and getting some good feedback. So that's something that I'm creating. And of course, I am recording just music, mantra music with beautiful affirmations, but also some love songs and some instrumental stuff for you to just relax to or meditate to or whatever, feels good. Yeah, and a few other things, but
Okay.
I'll wait on those.
That was really good to hear out of being a follower. Because a lot of times when people kind of find a niche and find that they're able to show people, they become teacher, leader, right? Conduit.
Mhm.
Without empowering people with the tools and resources to know, and it's more of a self-resource, like you're self-resourcing, you
Mhm.
return here ultimately for everything, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of times with the way the construct is here for us in our society, and when I say our society, I mean all of the earth, it is really about following this particular path and all of the rules and laws and codes to an end that may not be of your best interest, right?
Right.
There's communal interest, but then there's corporate interest, there's governmental interests, all of these things, but it may not be your personal best interest. And so offering people the understanding and the tools to learn to trust themselves, because when we were talking about surrender,
Right.
the question comes up for me is, how do we teach people to surrender if they don't trust themselves? Because you have to trust yourself in order to surrender. Because you have to
Exactly.
trust that what I'm letting go, it's okay, right? It
Mhm.
won't lose forever. I won't lose myself or
Mhm.
whatever it is that you're surrendering, right?
Mhm.
It could just be a moment. Well, I need this moment. I got to worry about 12 things. Um, but really allowing for a true re-education
Yes.
of self by self, not from somebody else, not an external source,
Mhm.
but knowing
Come on now, Ivy.
of the continuum. So I think that that's really, really, really rich. And I give thanks for that because we're so lost in that, you know. I won't take my, and I say we, I mean me too, right?
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
we're socialized to never trust yourself and always look to other people. If it's school, if it's church, if it's job,
Mhm.
answers for how you should conduct yourself and feel. Not even just what you should do, but how you should feel about it too, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You should think, feel, and do. Oh no, you're fine. Are you? I don't feel. No, you're fine. I'm feeling away, right? So, really giving people just a new paradigm to work toward at their own time and scale and pace.
Mhm.
That's
Sure.
a gift and a
Mm.
wonderful offering. That's,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm excited about it.
Thank you. I am
Yeah.
too.
Yay. I love it. What is exciting you the most about this experience of how people have gravitated towards you and what you're saying? Because there's a ton of people out, on the internets, right? Doing lots of things.
Mhm. I think actually what's excited me the most is kind of what you're just describing, this mutual thing, not the leader follower thing, where like, I don't know, we're doing this Rise Journal Challenge, and it's my first time to kind of share what I've been doing journal wise with people. And to see people get up at, you know, 6, 7 in the morning to get on live with me and have this moment together has been so, um, I was so excited the other day. It starts at 7. I was up at 4, couldn't sleep. I was like a little kid.
I love it.
And and there's a part of me that's been wanting to share these kinds of things for years, but it's taken me a lot of my own inner work to get to a place where I'm able to actually integrate it and bring it into the world, right?
Mm,
So that's what I'm most excited about, and seeing that appreciated and actually just resonating with people and people actually having meaningful transformative experiences. That's what gets me excited.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that we're in this really special time where folks are accessing themselves differently and looking for help to do that, as opposed to I'm just going to keep on this road path. It isn't really working. I don't feel great, but it's the path. It's what they told me to do, so I'm gonna keep rocking with it, right?
Right.
I think it was pre-COVID, but I think that helped push it along hella fast, right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
helped increase and intensify this kind of questioning. And we've been talking about a global awakening since I can remember, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think it might have been my freshman year spell when we was talking about it, right? That was 1992. That was a while ago. And so how do we then allow for new practices and new paradigms and ways of being and models? And you're one of those examples of a model, right? And then branching out with the work you're doing, because everyone you touch is going to then have something new to then share with those that they touch. And that's just, it's yummy and it's exciting. And I think that we're headed in some really great directions. There's a lot of distractive foolishness, but Tech, you live in Texas. What am I telling?
Sure.
Why dues paying members talking to each other right now? So what would you invite people to do to bring a little bit of more self-resourcing and space to themselves to surrender?
Hmm. I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? Ask people to
Learn a bit more about self-resourcing and surrendering and seeing themselves more fully, because they're kind of all together. It sounds like I said a lot, right? But I think they're rather intertwined.
Honestly, I would invite them really to, one, start with gratitude, right? Start your day with gratitude. What are you thankful for? Because I find a lot of times we wake up with this lack mentality. Oh, I've got to do this, I got to do that. Oh, all these things I haven't done yet. I lack these things. When you shift it to gratitude, your whole attitude and disposition shifts to abundance, creativity, resourcefulness, right? And that's like the foundation of creativity and trust. And then you begin to be more trusting of yourself, more creative in your life. And then I feel like from there, journal, like literally write in your journal, write things in your own safe space, right? And there was a while when I was nervous about somebody reading if I was writing something real. So I might, like throw it away or even burn it in the fire pit.
Okay, nobody's just thought.
But I think that's the foundation of learning how to trust yourself, right? Setting the foundation, right, from creativity and abundance. And then I think all those things start naturally happening from there. But just start with gratitude and shift yourself from this lack, fear mentality to the seeds and the root of love, like real self-love. And that's gratitude. That's gratitude.
I think it's so interesting because I think a lot of times people don't think of their to-do list as a lack of gratitude. Because they're like, but I have to go do this. I have to go, I gotta get ready. And if your first thought is all the things you have to do, that means you're not thinking, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's an underlying I'm not okay.
Telling yourself, I'm not okay, and I have to do all these things in order to be okay.
Right.
And I like framing it that way because I think you saying that your to-do list, because everyone says start with gratitude, right? Oh, I was such a day. I mean, I'm grateful. Okay, right. That's most people's response. But understanding the mechanism of why you're starting your day, thinking of a to-do list and all the things you didn't do, and all the things you have to do, go deeper into the kind of psychology and spiritual and heart work. Because the heart starts the party, right? So if it doesn't feel supported and satisfied and healthy, then it's going to tell the brain, oh, we have to go do these things so we're okay. And that starts the rest of that snowball effect. So I appreciate you phrasing it that way because I received it differently. Got a little better insight that we then can share with the party people. Come on, family, we have some words for y'all. So your space in nature, and you are helping folks resource themselves better. Sidebar, resourcing is you being able to tap into yourself and have the tools and skills to manage your emotions and your everything happening in your heart and your brain, and then making good choices for your body. I've realized sometimes I use language that everybody doesn't have accessible to them. So I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better. Nature is a tool to coming back to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And connecting with others. You've created a community where people can learn how to do that, or just experience it, right? We're not saying you have to learn anything, just experience. What are other spaces that you find yourself wanting to create?
Hmm. Hmm. Good question. I think, well, one, with social media itself, right? Like, one thing I struggle with is we tend to blame social media for, oh, social media is horrible, and the
Else.
algorithm and the blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
Yes, the downfall of the Black family. The
and I'm
this
like,
and that.
and I'm sitting back and I'm like, well, yeah, all of this is happening, but all of this is being programmed in response to how we show up to these things. Not saying, we're not separate from the issue, right? And so I was like, can we create a new paradigm on social media, right? That's why I've personally decided, like, when I show up on here, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to be inspiring. I want to be a source for people to connect in a new way, right? If you're going to get on the phone first thing in the morning and scroll through memes and jokes and, um, troubling news,
Yeah.
let there be a moment where there's something grounding, something that is like creative and healing for you, right? And I think the more of us that do that, the more we get to shift our reality, right? And we like to blame things and go, oh, this hard line, hard, rigid things. And the weakest structures are all rigid, right? The strongest structures are flexible, like the earth, right? We could nuke this earth and it may take it 1,000,000 years, but it'll survive and we won't. So
Like we know. Come on. She'll be here. She'll be right here. Like, all right, thanks for my nap time. That was stressing me out anyway. I needed a nap. That's what Guy is gonna do.
yeah. Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's one space I want to create. And I think one of the things I say on my daily lives, I say, this is a safe space for anyone from any place with any identity. Practice love, patience, and peace. And it's like, when you come to my live, there's no trolls, and even if there are trolls, we don't respond. We let them, let's not engage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other things, a long-reaching thing is I want to create a show with music and nature and meditation and
I show up for it. I mean, I watch it. I mean, I show up too, but I watch it.
Come through. You'll be a guest.
Who done said it? It's done. I love that. That is wonderful. So as we kind of get ready to wind down, what would be some like last thoughts, or is there something that you knew going into this conversation you knew you were going to share with us? Like, let me make sure I get this off because it's in my spirit, right? Or something that came up as we talked that you might have not have gotten to go into because I talk a lot, that you might want to share.
Honestly, I felt like I shared everything I wanted to share. I just encourage people to, start the day with gratitude and be more creative in their life. Everything that you have to shift your life into your wildest dreams, your whatever you want to manifest is already within you. But it's just, showing up, being creative, and loving yourself enough to let go of anything that isn't serving you.
That's amazing. So, and I would love to share with folks. We say be creative, but some people are like, oh, I'm not creative. Oh, I can't draw. Oh, I can't write poems. Well, creativity could be in the way you speak or the way you dress or the way you care for others. Like you may find a solution when someone's upset and hurt or say the words that are the balm to their soul, right? It doesn't have to be something that we think of as quote unquote the arts. It could be the way you approach a business issue is thinking outside of the box and bringing in some new innovation. Yeah. Because we have put ourselves in these boxes of, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that. Oh, I'm not the artist.
Yeah.
All of us have these amazing gifts and we probably are in some way, right? But wasn't honored and supported when you were a bitty, a little bitty.
Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, if you can speak any language, you're creative. None of it's scripted, right? You hear something from someone and you have an idea in your head and you're trying to figure out how you're going to express it right there, then on the spot. That's creativity. But we hold it, it's just artistic, paint, dance, music, writing. It's so interesting how many boxes we put things in.
Oh my God. The compartmentalization is real. Yes. Do you feel like you're in alignment? And when we say in alignment, what do you mean? Are we saying alignment with your purpose, alignment with just yourselves? When I say selves, I mean all of your bodies, your physical, your mental, emotional, spiritual. Or that's fine too, bodies. But do you feel in alignment, and what did it take for you to get there?
Yes, now more than ever. And what it took for me to get there, just showing up daily, holding space for myself, loving myself, and then creating with intention and affirmation and trusting, and life always brought all the other parts and pieces to support that journey. Life always says yes. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I think that is a beautiful space to end. Trusting oneself and knowing that life will bring to you what you need and showing up for you. I love that. A soul called y'all. It has been delightful. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's been truly my pleasure.
Indeed. You have a glorious one, kind sir.
You as well.
Peace.
Peace.